Sometimes the galaxy changes not because of one giant victory, but because a new partnership is thrown into chaos and somehow survives it. Star Wars: The Clone Wars begins in the middle of a war already burning across the stars. The Republic is stretched thin. The Separatists are pushing harder. Hyperspace routes are becoming battlefields. And while the Jedi are still trying to hold everything together, a new apprentice arrives, a crime lord's son goes missing, and a mission that looks like simple diplomacy becomes a race that could shift the balance of the entire war. The movie opens on Christophsis, where Republic forces are trapped in a brutal siege. Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and their clone troops are fighting to hold the planet, but the Separatists keep tightening control. Energy shields protect the droid army, artillery pounds the Republic lines, and every hour that passes makes it harder for the Jedi to save the world they were sent to defend. Right away, the film throws itself into wartime momentum. There is no slow build. The battle is already underway, and the Republic is already in trouble. Anakin is at the center of that pressure. He is bold, gifted, and aggressive, still carrying the same instincts that made him dangerous and brilliant in the live-action prequels. Obi-Wan is still the calmer partner, more patient and more comfortable with the long view of a conflict. The two work well together, but the film quickly makes it clear that Anakin is being pushed toward a new kind of responsibility, whether he wants it or not. That responsibility arrives in the form of Ahsoka Tano. Yoda has assigned her to be Anakin's new Padawan, and neither of them is happy about it at first. Ahsoka is young, confident, stubborn, and fast with her opinions. Anakin immediately resists the idea that he should be teaching anyone, especially in the middle of a live war. Ahsoka is just as quick to challenge him. She is not intimidated by his reputation, and she is not interested in quietly fading into the background. From the start, their relationship is friction, speed, and constant testing. The timing is terrible, because the mission on Christophsis is already going wrong. The Separatist commander activates a new shield system, and Republic blaster fire suddenly becomes useless. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka have to work together fast to break through the defense before the droids completely crush the clone forces. This first operation matters because it shows the core dynamic of the film. Anakin and Ahsoka clash, but when pushed into motion they are also unexpectedly effective together. They win by improvising, trusting instinct, and moving faster than their enemies expect. Once the battle turns, a larger mission emerges. Count Dooku is trying to build an alliance with Jabba the Hutt because the Hutts control vital hyperspace routes through their territory. If the Separatists secure that access, the Republic will lose critical movement across the Outer Rim. But there is a complication. Jabba's son Rada has been kidnapped, and whoever returns him safely will likely win Jabba cooperation. Obi-Wan negotiates with Jabba and promises that the Jedi will bring the child back. At the same time, Count Dooku is quietly shaping the entire situation from the shadows. This is where the film plot starts showing its real design. The kidnapping is not a random act. Dooku and Jabba Uncle Zyro have engineered it to turn Jabba against the Jedi and the Republic. If Jabba believes the Jedi were involved in harming his son, the Hutts will close their space to the Republic and likely lean toward the Separatists. So what looks like a rescue mission is really a trap built around trust, timing, and lies. Anakin is sent to the planet Teth with Ahsoka and a clone force to rescue Rada from a monastery where he is being held. The mission sounds simple. Get in, retrieve the child, and return him before Dooku narrative takes hold. Of course, nothing about it goes simply. Teth is vertical, dangerous, and heavily defended. The monastery sits high on a cliff, and Anakin troops have to climb into battle while enemy droids hammer them from above. This section of the film is where Anakin and Ahsoka start becoming an actual team. They still argue constantly. He thinks she talks too much and acts too quickly. She thinks he is impossible and overconfident, but both of them also see something useful in the other. Ahsoka learns that Anakin's talent is real, and that his boldness can open doors no careful plan would ever reach. Anakin learns that Ahsoka is not just a burden dropped on him by the Council. She is observant, brave, and stubborn in the exact way a Jedi apprentice sometimes needs to be. Inside the monastery they find Rada, who is much smaller and sicker than expected. He is not a dramatic prize. He is a miserable, frightened child whose condition makes the rescue harder by the minute. That detail matters because it shifts the mission emotionally. This is no longer just about winning Jabba favor. They are now carrying a living being through a war zone while enemies close in from every side. At the same time, Asajj Ventress is working for Dooku and tightening the trap around them. She had already dealt with the bounty hunters Jabba sent to retrieve his son, making sure the Jedi would take the blame when things went wrong. Now she closes in on Anakin and Ahsoka at Teth, using every delay to make their mission harder. She is one of the film's most effective threats because she is not trying to overpower the heroes in one direct move. She is trying to exhaust them, isolate them, and turn the entire situation against them. While Anakin and Ahsoka fight their way out with Rada, Obi-Wan continues trying to manage the wider battlefield. He negotiates, delays, distracts, and keeps the Separatists occupied so Anakin's mission has a chance to succeed. This split structure works well because it shows the Clone Wars at several levels at once. There is frontline combat, political maneuvering, and covert sabotage all happening together. The war is not one clean clash. It is pressure applied everywhere at once. The escape from Teth is where the mission becomes pure endurance. Rada is weak and feverish, Ahsoka is exhausted, and Anakin is carrying more than he admits. Even so, they keep moving. The film smartly lets their respect for each other grow through action instead of speeches. Anakin starts treating Ahsoka less like an assignment and more like a real partner. Ahsoka starts understanding that Anakin's impatience is tied to real care, not just arrogance. Meanwhile, Padme Amidala is pulled into the story from a different angle. While Anakin and Ahsoka race to return Rada, Padme investigates the political side of the kidnapping plot. Her path leads her to Jabba the Hutt, who is pretending innocence while secretly helping Dooku create the entire crisis. Padme discovers the connection and forces the truth into the open. This part of the film matters because it prevents the story from becoming only a battlefield adventure. Padme is still fighting with intelligence, nerve, and political awareness, and her work becomes essential to clearing the Jedi name. Back on the rescue route, Anakin and Ahsoka head for Padawan to deliver Rada to Jabba, but even that final leg is loaded with obstacles. Their ship is attacked, forced down, and the last stretch has to be completed under direct pressure. Dooku is still trying to reach Jabba first with lies. Ventress is still trying to close the distance. And the clock is still running because the longer Rada stays away, the more likely Jabba is to believe the worst. Dooku's tactic here is pure manipulation. He does not need to prove the Jedi guilty. He only needs Jabba to be angry, suspicious, and primed to listen. That is one of the smartest political ideas in the film. A lie does not need to be complete when fear is already doing half the work. When Anakin approaches Jabba Palace, Dooku intercepts him. Their duel does not resolve the larger conflict, but it does buy time and create one of the film's better small twists. Dooku thinks Anakin is carrying Rada, but Anakin has used deception of his own. While he keeps Dooku occupied, Ahsoka is the one actually bringing the child home. It is a solid payoff for their growth as a team. The mission works not because Anakin overpowers everything alone, but because he and Ahsoka finally trust each other enough to split the burden the right way. Ahsoka reaches Jabba with Rada just in time, but even then the danger is not over. Jabba is furious, distrustful, and ready to condemn the Jedi anyway. That is where Padme's intervention becomes decisive. She reveals Zyro's role in the plot, exposing the betrayal inside Jabba's own family and proving the Jedi were framed. Once the truth is out, the entire political calculation flips. Jabba realizes the Republic did not steal his son. Dooku and Zyro tried to manipulate him for Separatist advantage. That final revelation changes everything the mission was really about. Jabba agrees to let Republic forces use Hutt space, which means the Separatists lose the strategic win they were counting on. The kidnapping plot collapses, Zyro is arrested, and the Republic gains access it badly needs for the wider war. What makes the ending work is that it resolves more than one conflict at once. The Republic wins a valuable political and military advantage. Jabba gets his son back. Dooku's plan fails, but the most important payoff is smaller and more personal. Anakin and Ahsoka, who started the movie arguing like oil and fire, have become something that might actually last. They are still sharp with each other, still not easy, still very much themselves, but now there is trust underneath the friction. That matters because the Clone Wars is not just introducing Ahsoka as a character. It is showing what she means in Anakin life. She brings out his patience and tests his judgment. He challenges her, protects her, and pushes her to grow faster than she expected. Their bond is messy from the start, but it feels real, and that gives the film its strongest emotional thread. The Clone Wars works best when it leans into that wartime energy. It is not trying to be grand tragedy yet like Revenge of the Sith, and it is not trying to be purely political like parts of the prequel trilogy. It feels more like a military adventure with constant movement, where strategy, personality, and timing matter just as much as lightsabers. The movie also understands that war changes how Jedi function. They are no longer distant guardians stepping into isolated crises. They are generals, negotiators, spies, and caretakers all at once, and the pressure of that role is starting to reshape everyone. It also quietly shows how many fronts the Clone Wars are really being fought on. There's the obvious front line with clones and battle droids. There is the criminal underworld, where Hutts and cartels can shift the map with one agreement. There is the political level, where lies and timing can matter more than armies. And underneath all of it, there is the Sith strategy, always looking for ways to make the Republic weaker by forcing it to react instead of choose. By the end, Star Wars: The Clone Wars becomes more than a rescue mission about a kidnapped Hutt child. It becomes the start of a new partnership, the collapse of a separatist scheme, and a clear sign that the war will be won or lost as much through relationships as through battles. And when Anakin and Ahsoka walk away from the mission with a little more respect and a lot more understanding, the movie lands on its strongest truth. In a galaxy tearing itself apart, trust is sometimes the hardest thing to build and the most valuable thing to keep.